Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderfall Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we've got the Sunday preview, and 2 new Battletomes are on the horizon, but there's a little bit more to talk about as we get through the article as well, because there's some things that they show off but don't exactly say a lot about in this. But first of all, I think the most important thing is to say next week pre-orders finally go up for the Stormcast Eternals and Orruk warclans Battletomes, or the Kruleboyz Battletome, whatever you're thinking of calling it. So this is awesome for starters. I can't wait for these 2 Battletomes to hit. There's a bunch of other stuff going on pre-order, and for what it shows that we're getting on pre-order, I think we're going to see a multi-week release of Age of Sigmar models and stuff. So this isn't going to be the only week that we get both Kruleboyz and Stormcast Eternals. So let's get kicking on with it. First of all, Stormcast Eternals, the Battletome. I must say I really am a fan of this particular Battletome cover. I think this is my favourite one. I love the Knight Arcanum in the background, the Annihilator in the foreground, and that Chaos Warrior is really sweet as well. Just the fight there between the Chaos Warrior and the Annihilator looks really cool. Really nice sort of pose from the 2 characters at the forefront of the book. But so it contains 76 unique War Scrolls, extensive rules for the newly expanded Path to Glory narrative campaigns, and powerful abilities to help seize victory upon the battlefield. We're assuming we're going to see things like special core battalions that allow us to get the same benefits, but also at the same time just allow us to do so in very different ways. It'd be really cool maybe if the core battalions are for each sub-faction. I think that would be cool, because obviously we've got these different types, so maybe if it's, you know, a Knights Excelsior trying to get an extra artifact, you might let them take Paladins to get it, or something like that. Would be a really cool way to do it. And of course we're going to have the battle tactics and the grand strategies for Stormcast Eternals in there as well. We've sort of seen a little bit of what will come inside a Battletome thanks to the Sons of Behemoth update we saw in White Dwarf. And so the Battletome is going to be going along a limited edition one. I miss the old limited editions when you got something with them. I'm not a fan of just a plain cover alongside them. It was cool when you got something with them to make them limited edition. I remember getting some of the limited editions throughout the ends of Fantasy, or even the time of 6th and 7th 40k, where you would get, you know, like you would get your objective markers specific to that. You would get a cool slip cover. Your book would have like the little tassel in it so you could mark pages, and you'd get like a pin, or you would get something to make that limited edition worth it. I really don't care about limited editions anymore. They don't really do much for me. And so we then go down here. This is the interesting one. So the War Scroll cards. Now we can see Bastian Carthalos' War Scroll here, and I've gone and read and translated exactly what it all says there. So we're going to talk a little bit about Bastian here. So first of all, it's worth noting that he is a Hammers of Sigmar only model, and there seems to have been one War Scroll that people can't account for. So for me, this is either one of 2 things. We've got a new Underworlds warband that is inside this, but I don't think that makes sense, because normally Underworlds is released after the time period, even when we were expecting these books. Another thought we had chatting with my local sort of group and mates was, what if we get a generic Bastian Carthalos? Or rather, much like how we have Neve Blacktalon as the unhelmeted version, and you put a helmet on and it becomes a Knight Zephyros, do we have the same thing where we get a Lord Commander Bastian Carthalos when he's got his head, no helmet on, and you put a helmeted option? Does that become a just generic Lord Commander for Stormcast Eternals? It's been an interesting sort of thing here. But anyway, we look at his stat block, and we can see that clearly from here. It's move 6, save of 3+. He's got bravery 10, which is really high for Stormcast Eternals. Most of them float around 7. And then he's got 8 wounds, so nice, decent amount of wounds as well. So he's a tough person, because he can go to a 2-up pretty consistently. He can be, you know, with 8 wounds on 2-up. And then we'll get to his rules in a second. But he has ways to make himself even more survivable. And so we've got his weapon up the top there, which is Uskavar the Sunderer, which has 4 attacks, 3s, 2s, Ren 2, and damage 4 per attack. So that sounds really great, but on average he's going to do about 4 or maybe 8 damage a turn. He's not going to do a lot unless you can be spending those command points to get him 2s and 2s, which is pretty sweet. His rules, though, are the following. So he's got Thunderborn. Once per turn, you may choose one enemy unit on the battlefield and roll a number of dice equal to the wounds characteristic of said enemy unit. For each 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wounds. Now, this sounds really amazing. At first, you're thinking like, oh, that sounds like so many. But it is 6s. It can spike really well, no doubt. It can also not do anything, no doubt. But on average, you know, thinking of Mega Gargant, the scene, you go 36, oh, that's a lot of 6s. It's only 6. That's not going to help much on a Mega Gargant. They can heal that back in a single turn. Castellan the Vizier, though, at the start of the first battle round, before the battle begins, who has the first turn? You can select up to D3 Hammers of Sigmar units and redeploy them. Any restrictions for the battle plan still apply. This is really cool, though. It allows you to change your tactic. This would be really cool if you're playing in like a 1-drop army. And so you have to put your army down, your opponent sort of counters your deployment, and then you can do this to counter after. I think these abilities are really useful now. They used to maybe not be the greatest and provide only a slight buff, but I think the ability with like 1-drops and all that, this makes him really interesting in a 1 or 2-drop army where your opponent's getting more time to sort of counteract your deployments. This could be a really cool ability. We then got Vestal of the Tempest, and this is what I'm talking about, him being more survivable. He has a ward save of 4+, which is pretty sweet. So this just makes him, you know, he can quite easily be on a 2+, 4+. The majority of the time he's on the battlefield, so that's pretty good. You're going to have to put quite a few points of damage into him to actually get him off the table. He's then got the Voice of Thunder, so once per turn this unit can issue a command to a Hammers of Sigmar unit on the battlefield without a command point being spent. Nice. 3 CP, free CP sort of spending is always good. And then Mantle of the First Storm. At the end of the phase, if any models were destroyed by wounds caused by this model's attacks in the phase, he heals all wounds. That's really sweet because it's just, he goes into something, takes, maybe you roll that 1 on his wounds and then don't pass the ward after. If he kills anything, he just back up to full health. He can be pretty solid. He's really good. I mean, his movement is the issue, but obviously we've got the abilities to Thunderstruck down. We've probably still got things like the Night Vexillor and some of the spells like Translocation and all of that sort of stuff. But really, really solid War Scroll, I think, for Bastian. And so now we get a look at what else is coming out. First of all, my favourite model from this particular release, we've got the Knight Judicator, which is really sweet. His Griffhounds are awesome. He is by far my favourite model from this particular release. Then got the Masters of the Sacrosanct, so the Lord Knight Arcanum on foot is coming out in single release, which is cool. Nice. And you get the, because it's on the same sprue, so you get the dude here, but it says this is a Evocator Prime, but you totally convert that up into a Knight Incantor. So this for me is a Knight Incantor plus a Knight Lord Arcanum. Nice. We then got the Chariot coming out this week as well. Sweet. And then we go into Orruk warclans. So meanwhile, the Force of Destruction marshal their troops and set to wreak havoc upon the mortal realms. Includes war scrolls covering greenskins of every ilk, such as Swamp Dwelling Kruleboyz and even Kragnos the End of Empires. That's pretty sweet. So Kragnos is going to be inside the book. And I'm really keen for that. It's nice to have Kragnos have his own rules. I mean, of course, eventually Kragnos was going to need his own rules inside a book somewhere because obviously the Broken Realms books will not be around forever. They're a narrative supplement. They'll be around for as long as they're apparent, and I assume as we go into the new edition they will be slowly phased out. And so you've got, once again, a cool limited edition Battletome. Made my point about them. Unfortunately, they've just got the Merc Knob on the front here. We already know what that guy does. But we have got the Breaker Boss coming out as well. He's a really cool model. This is one of my favourite ones, I think. And then we've got the amazing Beastcure Killbow as well. And then some cool Grand Alliance dice. I don't know, these just look a little bit meh, I think. In all honesty, I'm not particularly fond of them. Yeah, they're just sort of average, I think. I'm not particularly keen on any of the dice. It says Chaos, Destruction, and Death. Which ones are the... these ones here, the Death, or are the ones down the bottom of Death? I'm not sure. They both look more Sigma. Okay. Don't worry. That was Kruleboyz, that was Orruk and Stormcast, and now we've got the Death Dice down here. Okay, yeah, they look pretty plain and pretty sort of meh, I think, in all honesty. New White Dwarf coming out. Don't forget, this is going to have some cool stuff. So we've got an Index of Studies on the Space Wolf Primaris successor chapter of the Wolf Spear, a Tome Celestial on the Slaves to Darkness. Cool. I'm interested to see the Primaris Space Wolf successor of the Wolf Spear, because they don't have much, but also Tome Celestial Slaves to Darkness as well will be sweet. Blood Bowl's got a new pitch coming out, and then Forge World, we've also got these new Praetors, which are pretty darn sweet for the Ultramarines, along with, I believe that's Argel Tal, is it not? Nice. And then you can win a Titan. Black Library, we got Double Eagle coming out, and Knights of Bretonnia, one of my favourite stories. Anthony Reynolds, this sounds like a great story. If you like some of the old stuff, really solid. And then we've got Diachasm as well coming out in paperback. So, sweet. Some really cool stuff. Oh, and more Warhammer Plus stuff. So, some really sweet stuff coming out. I'm really excited to see what Bastian is doing and what the rest of the Stormcast Eternals and Kruleboyz have to offer. Well, thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community here at Cinderfall Gaming, you can do so by coming and joining our Discord, of which there is a link in the description of the video to go and join. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by Patreon, YouTube members, or by going and purchasing some merch on our Teespring store. You can find the links to all three in the description of the video, once again, to Patreon, YouTube members, and to our merch store on Teespring. But also, we'd like to give a special shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. So, thank you to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dynat226. And a special thank you as well to our YouTube members Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollin, Becca Kinski Groupie, The Johnny84, and El Mapache. Thank you as well, a special thanks especially to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel. An absolute legend of a person. And then thank you as well to the legend that is Xmorphic. He does so much amazing work in the background of our Discord server, making sure everything works and looks nice and pretty there for us all to enjoy. So that's enough said from me though. Thank you all for watching. Once again, stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.